This is my experience of the Morris Arboretum. So this is the entrance of the Arboretum, and to the right immediately is the gift shop. Fun fact, the Morris Arboretum is the official Arboretum of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it's property of the University of Pennsylvania. Although the Arboretum is dedicated for plant life, one thing I found interesting was the amount of sculpture and craftsmanship that the Arboretum had to display as well. Regarding history, the Morris Arboretum was once the private estate of siblings John and Lydia Morris, children of a prominent Philadelphia Quaker family. Established in 1887 in Chestnut Hill, the estate was first called Compton. The land the Morrises purchased for their estate was initially barren with neglected soils and steep slopes. With diligent care, however, John and Lydia improved the land and began filling the property with collections of exotic and native trees, shrubs, and plants from across the world. Between the years of 1892 and 1910, the Morrises purchased adjacent parcels of land with the intent of expanding the gardens and features. With the purchase of Bloomfield Farm in 1914, their estate encompassed more than 166 acres in Chestnut Hill and adjacent Flower Town. Throughout the years, John and Lydia continued enhancing the ground with architectural and horticultural features, borrowing ideas from many cities and gardens they visited during their travels to foreign lands. Over time, the Morrises created a unique mix of gardens unlike those found elsewhere in the US and other countries. They did this by incorporating formal garden elements, open lawns, and European and Japanese influences into their own classic English landscape model. And this is another sculpture I was talking about. This one is called Two Lines, and it's by artist George Rickey. I just thought it was very interesting. Going back to the history, what really gave the Arboretum its own identity were the several distinctive structures added by John Morris. These included a greenhouse called the Fernery, which is now the only remaining freestanding Victorian fernery in North America, a log cabin built as a private retreat for his sister Lydia, and the Mercury Loggia, constructed in 1913 to commemorate the Morrises' 25th anniversary at Compton. The footage before was the Rose Garden, which contains over 700 individual rose plants representing 175 different varieties. And this is the fernery that I was talking about before. Again, it's the only remaining freestanding Victorian fernery in North America. Originally built in 1899 under the supervision of John Morris, the fernery stands today as a historical timepiece, documenting the British obsession with ferns and glasshouses during the Victorian era. The building was constructed using locally mined stone and utilizing cutting-edge technology in glass cutting, steam heating, and architectural elements. Nestled in a curve of land below the Rose Garden, the fernery has become an iconic part of the Morris Arboretum. Its glittering rooftop welcomes visitors into a peaceful space filled with ferns, trickling waterfalls, and reflecting pools. With my personal experience, when I first came in here, I didn't even feel like I stepped into a fernery. I felt like I stepped into a jungle on the other side of the planet. When I came to the Arboretum, it was about 40 degrees, but as soon as I stepped into the fernery, I was immediately hit with a heat wave. John Morris died in 1915, and he left their estate in trust to Lydia with the understanding that Compton and Bloomfield would eventually become a botanical garden and a school for horticulturalists. Lydia continued to cultivate the grounds until her death in 1932. The Morrises' plans to turn their property into a public garden and, even more importantly, an educational institution devoted to horticulture were realized in 1932 when Lydia transferred ownership of Compton and Bloomfield to the University of Pennsylvania. From then on, it was known as the Morris Arboretum. Again, with my experience, what I'm walking through is called the Willow Wander. This is a 40-foot long, 6-foot high tunnel made of living willow, and at the end, there was a sculpture of a dinosaur I thought was also pretty cool. Open to the public in 1933, the Arboretum was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1978. It's now a renowned resource center of the University of Pennsylvania and recognized as the official Arboretum of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Science, art, and humanities are pursued through a variety of research, education, and outreach programs that link the Arboretum to a worldwide effort to nurture the Earth's forests, fields, and landscapes. And how I was talking about before, this is the log cabin that was used as Lydia's private retreat. The information page of the Morris Arboretum states that she would entertain friends here, as well as enjoying quiet time on the porch, watching woodlands along the stream. John Morris designed and ordered the construction of the cabin in 1908, And this cabin is similar in style to the vacation cabins of the Adirondacks and is even complete with a Riverstone cobble chimney. The building was designed to be cool in the summer, and a fireplace provided warmth for the cold winter. The log cabin was later restored in 1995 and remains an idyllic spot to enjoy spring bulbs and other short-lived native plants particularly. The Morris Arboretum contains more than 11,000 labeled plants of over 2,500 types, representing the temperate floras of North America, Asia, and Europe, with a primary focus on Asia. A little past the log cabin shows the Swan Pond. Designed and installed in 1905 by John Morris, the Swan Pond is an artificial lake that was created by damming the East Brook, which naturally flows through the Morris. Also, in 1923, the Morrises purchased a pair of swans for $82.50. Significant collections of plants include native azaleas, conifers, hollies, magnolia species, maples, roses, and witch hazels. The Morris Arboretum also has identified 17 different types of trees in its collection. Coming up, this is the spring house, and it's located on the very edge of the boundary of the Morris Arboretum. This spring house predates the Morris' estate and can be traced back to when the property was first used as a dairy farm. In its home, alongside the spring-fed creek, the spring house was used to store dairy products and other chilled perishables. However, the larger adjacent building remains a mystery. Its structural accents, like a chimney and fireplace, are speculated to have also been used for storage, dairy product preparations, or possibly even a smokehouse. In 2004, this historical structure underwent a complex restoration. The stone walls were rebuilt, including a 38-foot wall with seating, granite steps, brick paving, new wooden beams to suggest a roof, and enhancements to the surrounding landscape. The Springhouse complex offers a tranquil resting spot with an open view of the trees above. It lies close to the Azalea Meadow, while also providing visitors with an opportunity to learn about an earlier era of what the Morris Arboretum was before. Also, with my personal experience, when I went there, part of the Arboretum was closed off, so there was one more historic structure called the Pump House that I didn't get to see. At its time of construction in 1908, the pump house was an integral feature of the estate. Its wheel powered a 3-cylinder pump, which pushed water uphill to a cistern in the tower of the former Compton mansion. It also provided water for grazing livestock, served to drain the meadow, and was used to send water up the hill to the garden's fountains. In 1917, a city water map shows the pump house was no longer in use, as all of the Morris' fountains were hooked up to the city water system by that time. The pump house was renovated in 1994 and serves to greet visitors entering through the Northwestern Avenue entrance. This patio area is right on the very edge of the Morris Arboretum's boundaries, right on Hillcrest Avenue. Also on this area lies another sculpture called the Three Tubes, which is a visual puzzle as it shows 3 disconnected cylinders while all of them are connected at the same time. While I was there also, one of the staff for the Morris Arboretum informed me of some more recent updates. In 2023, 90 years after the Arboretum first opened to the public, it celebrated this important milestone by unveiling a new name. It was called the Morris Arboretum and Gardens, which harkens back to Compton's owners, John and Lydia Morris, as their shared vision of a public garden where spectacular trees live in harmony, with flower-filled gardens as well. This piece of art on the pavement didn't have a name, as I believe it's still being worked on because of the traffic cone right there, but my interpretation of it was just how far a tree's roots could span underground, which I also thought was just visually appealing. This walkway spanning from the edge of the Morris Arboretum, diving back into the heartland, is called Oak Alley. This European-style lane was first planted in 1905 as the entrance drive to the estate from Hillcrest Avenue. 86 scarlet oaks were originally planted, but the venerable alley was destroyed in a 1991 tornado. Replanted in 1992 with Shumard oak, oakleaf hydrangea, bottlebrush buckeye, and deciduous hollies, this area has a seasonal interest throughout the year. Alleys were originally introduced as a landscape feature during the Italian Renaissance. The word alley is from Old French, aller meaning to go, and refers to a walkway or drive borrowed by rows or evenly spaced, even-aged trees of the same species. Alleys were popular in European royal parks and estates in the 17th and 18th centuries, mostly in France and England. In the late 19th century in America, it became popular to create tree-lined streets on the model of the alleys. This tree right here is a katsura tree, which is of Japanese origin. It was acquired by John Morris in 1898, which makes it 127 years old, and also it's the largest tree in the city of Philadelphia. This replica of SEPTA's Chestnut Hill Station, alongside a model train track beside it, is known as the Garden Railway. Although it was closed now, it's going to reopen as the Holiday Garden Railway on November 2nd. Staff told me that it's a third of a mile long, which features 7 loops and tunnels with 15 different rail lines and 2 cable cars. The display and buildings are all made of natural materials: bark, leaves, twigs, hollow logs, mosses, acorns, dried flowers, seeds, and stones, to form a perfectly proportioned miniature landscape complete with miniature rivers. Each building, while an exact replica of the original, is unique in its design. Philadelphia area landmarks such as a masterpiece replica of Independence Hall are made using pine cone seeds for shingles, acorns as finals, and twigs as downspouts. Today, Morris Arboretum and Gardens is leading the way in the 21st century in its sustainability and preservation tactics in landscape management. I had an amazing time here and I highly recommend it to everyone.